right, so we are looking at word problems today. Y'all be quiet. All right, so part of the reason I put this here at the end of the unit, okay, is it's letting us get like a full review of all of the different forms that we've looked at so far in Unit 2. So we're going to look at all of the different forms. We're going to look at making sure we can understand and apply each of the different forms. We are going to write and interpret the equations from the real world contexts. Okay, so that way we can actually be able to solve these questions, like these real world questions in context. So we get to review all of the topics we've talked about so far, review the forms, review what they mean, how to use them. And so I have actually switched up our plan just a little bit from over there for the rest of the week. So we're going to do word problems today and tomorrow. Okay, we're going to review on Thursday. Then instead of doing a 2-part test, we're going to do a 1-part test on Friday. Okay? Yes, ma'am. Okay, so we'll essentially have 3 days of us reviewing the different forms, everything, because we did the project. So the project really covered all of our graphing skills, okay? But it didn't cover us writing equations, solving linear equations, any of the other stuff we did this unit, okay? So I will give you I'm going to try to give y'all the review at the end of class tomorrow, and then we're going to work on it on Thursday. Yeah. So, would y'all rather, I'm going to let y'all be the deciding vote, would y'all rather do a review like we did last time where we just work problems, or would y'all rather do a Kahoot? Do a review like we did last time and work it out like a sheet of paper, or would y'all rather do a Kahoot? Okay, we can do a Kahoot. All right. So we will be reviewing on Thursday, and then Friday is our test day. Okay, it will be 1 part, probably like 10 questions, because I want us to be able to finish it in 1 day. So now we're going to go ahead and get started with type 1 of our word problems. They are slope-intercept form word problems. What is slope-intercept form? I agree. It's y equals what? So we are going to use this form when we have specific context. So we are going to use when given a rate of change What does that represent? Slope. Which variable in y equals mx plus b is our slope? M. Okay, so we're used when given a slope and a starting point. So when you go to graph a line, where do you start? At the y-intercept. So what do you think the starting point represents? The y-intercept, or your b. Okay, so that is when we use y equals mx plus b. When we're given our starting point and our slope. So I want us to go ahead and look at question 1. So for question 1, it said Evan is going to the county fair this weekend. The admission to the fair is $5. So the admission is $5, and the cost per ride is 50 cents. So based just off that information, what is my slope? Which one of those would be my rate? Would it be $5 for admission, or would it be cost per ride? It'd be my 50-cent cost per ride.
Wait, how do you determine that?
So which one of those is a rate? Is it just the $5 admission fee? Is that a rate? Or would it be the cost per ride? That's the rate. And it would be the cost per ride. So how would I write 50 cents? How would I write that? 0.5 or 0.50. 0.5, 0.50. Any of those work. And what would our starting point be? To even get in the fare, what do you have to pay? $5. So we can write our equation just from knowing that first piece of information. So we get y equals what?
0.5x plus 5.
Plus 5. Now we need to figure out the rest of the context of this question. Okay? It says if his parents gave him $20, write and solve a linear equation to find how many rides he can go on. Well, which variable represents the rides? How many rides?
What?
Why do you think it's the x?
Because it's the rate.
Because it's where the rate's at. So our rate of change, our slope, gives us to it as a cost per ride, right? Where the cost is our actual rate. And then the per ride, that represents what our variable is. Whatever's after that per, that tells us what our x variable is. Because that's what we're talking about in the question, okay? So we are actually solving this to find our x variable. We're finding our x. So where do I need to plug in that 20 to? If I'm solving for x, where do I need to plug in 20? Y. So I'm going to do 20 equals 0.5x plus 5. How do I solve that? Subtract 5. So we get 15 equals 0.5x. How do I solve that? What is 15 divided by 0.5? So we get 30 equals x. It's 30 what? 30 rides. So he can go on 30 rides. I do not think this fair was held in the year of 2025. I don't think you could get into the fair for $20. Yes?
Does it matter how we write the answer?
You have to write the answer in context to the problem. So, like, you can't just use this as your answer. This is the answer, but you need to then specify 30 what? Okay? You need to say what it is in that specific problem. Because that's part of what we're doing here. We have to answer the questions in context. Okay? So now we're going to look at question 2. So for question 2, while visiting Crimson Lake, Sally decides to go kayaking. The rangers charge $8.50 per hour in addition to the $25 deposit to rent the kayak. So based off just that information, what is our slope? 8.5. What is our starting point? What's our y-intercept? So how would I write that equation? Y equals? All right, now we're good to figure out the rest of the question. So if she rented a kayak from 11:30 until 2:30 p.m., write and solve the linear equation to find the total cost to rent the kayak. So what does the 11:30 to 2:30 tell us? What? She rented it for 3 hours. Okay? So we know that she rented it for 3 hours. What variable to hours represents?
X.
That is our x, because we have our rate and it gives us our x. Okay? So I need to plug in 3 for x to solve for my. So what am I solving here? Solve for y. Usually, whenever it gives us some sort of total something, that means we're solving for our y variable. Okay, if it's giving us a specific thing, that's usually our x. So, from here, we are going to plug in 3. So, we're going to get y is equal to 8.53 plus 25. So, using a calculator, what is 8.5 times 3? So, 25.5
Does that stay extra?
plus 25. What is 25.5 plus 25?
50.
So, y equals 50.5. Now, it's talking about total cost. So, how much money, or how do I need to write the answer to that?
$?
So, it'll be $50.50 to rent the kayak. For how many hours?
3 hours. We have to write it like that?
All right, now we're going to look at question 3. So for question 3, it tells us that Alex bought a new truck for $42,935. What would that represent in this problem?
Wow.
Not just the y, but the starting point, our y-intercept. Our b is $42,935. And it says, according to the dealer, the truck will depreciate. What does depreciate mean? Decrease. It's going to go down. Okay? So it's going to depreciate approximately $4,200 per year. What does that represent? So my slope would be m equals, has to depreciate, so negative $4,200. So to write our equation, we're going to do y equals what?
Negative 42.
X plus. Now, it asks us to write and solve the linear equation to find how many years until the truck is worth $5,135. So am I solving for X or Y here? X, because it's saying how many years. So that right there tells me I'm solving for X. So what do I need to plug in for Y? So $5,135 is equal to negative 4,200 X plus 42,935. How do I solve that for X? What do I do? Well, I need to do what? Subtract first.
Wait,
Yep.
I thought the 5,135 was the X.
Nope, that's our Y. We're solving for X because we're trying to find how many years until it's worth that much. So because it's asking us how many years, that is telling us we have to solve for X. Okay. So what did y'all say I need to do first? Subtract. What is 5,135 minus 4,000 or 42,935? What was that? Negative $37,800 is equal to negative 4,200 X. How do I solve it from there? Divide. So what does X equal? 9. 9 what? So it will be 9 years until the truck is worth $5,000. Now, we are going to do number 4 on our own real quick. So I want y'all to work on number 4. Identify all your key parts, set up your equation, then solve for what it asks you to. I think this is more like number 1. Or number 3.
What's supposed to be decimal?
You can be a decimal. So these are all questions with money involved, right? Money has decimals in it. You can have decimals as your answer. Okay. Is the answer talking about money? If the answer is talking about money, you do have to do 2 decimal places. If it's not talking about money, I'm not really worried about it this time. Just do to 1. All right. So it says if you buy a car wash at the gas station for $6, what does that represent? Our y-intercept. That is our B. Our B is 6. And then it says the cost per gallon is $2.35. What is that? And it says if you have $40, write and solve a linear equation to find the number of gallons of gas you can afford. So, am I solving for X or Y?
I'm in the X.
The X. Because our cost per gallon, that tells us what our X is, and that's the same. So we're solving for X. So now we're going to set it up. Y equals, what am I setting up? Y equals what? 2.35x plus 6.
Plug in 40.
Plug in 40 for Y. And we get 2.35x plus 6. Now I solve it for X. How do I solve that for X? So we get 34 equals 2.35x. Now what do I do? When we divide that, what do we get? If y'all want to just say 2, and just leave it as I would do 2 always. 0.47 equals our X. What does X mean again? So it is 14.47 gallons you can afford and buy a car wash with $40. Yep. These problems were written pre-2025. For sure. Except maybe the depreciation one, because that feels about right. Actually, it probably works these days. All right. The next type of question we're going to look at is point-slope form. What is the equation for point-slope? That's our equation for just slope. What's the equation for point-slope formula? Where we need a point and a slope. Not y equals, but y minus
X1
y1
minus Y.
equals our slope times x minus x1.
Y2 minus Y1.
That is our equation for just slope. We have a few important formulas, and I want us to take 5 seconds to talk about them. Our first formula, our equation for just slope, which is our n. What is the formula for slope? Okay, then we have slope intercept. Slope intercept formula is what? Okay. The name of this tells us exactly what it is. Okay. Because we have our slope and we have our intercept. Okay, now we also have point slope, which is what we just did. So point slope is our y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1, where we have a point, which is our y1 and our x1, and we have our slope, which is the, okay? Those are three of our important formulas for this unit, okay? So, we use this when we are given what two things? Point and slope, okay? So, we're going to put on here, use when given a rate of change. Which is our slope. That is our n. All right. So we use when given a rate of change and a sample point. That is our x1, y1, okay? And we plug that in to the x1 and y1 spot. So we're gonna look at question 5. So for question 5, at Eagle Bay, it costs $12 per hour to rent a canoe. What does that $12 per hour stand for? No. That $12 is our slope. Okay, that gives us our m right from the get-go. And by saying per hour, it tells me what does x stand for? The hours. That tells us what x is, what the x variable means in this problem. And it says Nate and his friends rented a canoe for 4 hours and paid $68. So it tells us exactly what happens when you rent one for $4 and 4 hours and how much money it is. So what would that be an example of? That would be our point, because it gives us both the hours and the money. So we just said our hours represents x. So how would I write this point? It would be the point. Would 4 go first or 68 go first? 4, because our hours are our x. So we'll do 4, 68. So now we have a point and we have a slope. So we have our x1, y1. That is our 4, 68. And we have our slope, which is, what was our slope again?
Why isn't 68 just the y?
Or 68 is the y, but 4 is the x. So we have to put both in our slope.
Okay.
Or in our point. I'm so sorry. We have to have an x and a y point.
That's right.
Yes. Yes. And our slope is 12. So we're going to set up our point slope formula. So we're going to do y minus, what is y1?
68.
Is equal to, what's our slope? Times x minus, what's x1? 4. So now we're going to put that in point slope, or Take it from point slope form to slope intercept form. Anytime you had to put it in slope intercept form, you solve for y. So how do I solve this equation for y? Distribute first. So 12 times x is? And then 12 times negative 4 is? Negative 48. How do I solve it from here for y? We're solving for y, so we add 68. And so y equals 12x. What is negative 48 plus 68? Positive 20. So that's our equation. So there we wrote the linear equation. And now we have to find the cost to rent the canoe for 7 hours. What do I need to plug in 7 for? X. So I'm going to do y is equal to 12 times 7 plus 20. What is 12 times 7? What is 84 plus 20? Now answer it in context of the question. It's 104 what? It is $104 to rent the canoe for 7 hours. And we are good to look at the back. Okay, if you want to put in your point slope form right here at the top, just to help you remember it, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Wouldn't be a terrible idea. We need to make sure we remember that formula. And let's go ahead and look at 6. So question 6. It says a construction company charges $18 per hour for debris removal. What does 18 per hour give us? Slope, okay? So our slope is what part? 18. And then what represents our x? Hours. So x is in hours. We know that. Now, then it says plus a one-time fee for the use of a dumpster. Whenever we're given a one-time fee, what does that represent? Our what? Our B, our y-intercept. That represents our B. Does it give me any information about that B other than that right there? No. Okay, so right now, I don't need to worry about that. So let's look at the rest of it. The total fee for 8 hours of service was $219. What does that give us? The point. It tells us the hours and the cost. So we have to write and solve a linear equation. So, what is my slope again?
18.
And what will my x1 and y1 be? What? 8, 219. So let's set up this equation. Y minus
219.
equals
18.
times x minus. So I'm going to put it in slope-intercept form now. How do I put it in slope-intercept form? Solve for y. So distribute first. So I get y minus 219 equals, what is 18 times x? 18 times x? 18x. Then 18 times negative 8 is? Negative 144. How do I solve from here?
Subtract. I'm gonna add 219.
So y equals 18x plus what? 75. All right, now, it says write and solve a linear equation to find the one-time fee for the dumpster. We said at the beginning of this, the one-time fee represents our what? Our B. Well, if I have my slope-intercept formula, what's my B?
75.
Exactly. So it's 75 what to rent the dumpster? $75 to rent the dumpster. I personally like those because I don't have to solve for anything else. I just have to find the equation. Yes.
If it's per hour, why wouldn't you have 8? What's the difference?
The 8 is the x. So that's our x variable, and that is our y variable.
I read it wrong.
But yeah, so it's going to $75 just for the dumpster, not counting the cleanup. Do what?
How do you know if it's B?
So it asks for that one-time fee, and so that would be our starting point.
Okay.
And so that is our y-intercept. Once we found the equation with everything else and put it in slope-intercept form, our b is just what's being added at the end. So we don't even have to solve anything else. We can just see our intercept. That's why those are kind of my favorite, because they're less solving involved. I don't have to plug anything extra in after I find my slope-intercept. The tricky thing about these equations isn't the actual doing the math. I wholeheartedly think y'all can do these linear equations all day long. Y'all can solve for x, y'all can solve for y, y'all can plug in stuff. I know you can. The problem with word problems is reading the question and figuring out what it's asking you for. It's the thinking part of it, okay? That's where we had to put in those problem solving skills and just figure out what it's asking us for. So I want us to do question 7. Or do we have time? It'll be close. Yeah, we got time. We'll be okay. All right, for 7. We have a company offers premium cable for $39.95 a month plus a one-time setup fee. Okay, what does the 35 represent? Or the $39.95? The slope. So as of right now, we have M equals $39.95. So which variable is in months? X. That tells me it is X months. Now, it says the total cost for setup and 6 months of service is $264.70. What does that tell us? That's our point. So, what would our X coordinate be there? 6. What would our Y coordinate be there? And then it says, write and solve the linear equation, find the total cost. Okay. So first, let's set up our equation. We're going to do
Y minus 264.7
mm-hmm,
equals 39.95 times X minus.
mm-hmm. Exactly right. And then I put it in slope-intercept form, so I solve for Y. How do I do that?
Distribute from
So I get Y minus 264.7 equals, what is 39.95 times X?
39.95
39.95
minus 239.6.
minus 2, what was that?
239.7.
All right, how do I solve it from Y from here?
Add 264.7.
So Y equals
39.95x plus 25.
plus what?
25?
Is it 25 or is it? Yeah, it's 25. All right. So then it says to write and solve an equation for the total cost of 2 years of it gives me years. I have money and I have months. So how would I do that? Well, no, because Y is money, right? But can I write years as months, though? 2 years is how many months? That's 24 months. So what do I need to plug in for X? 24. Okay. So we're going to do Y equals 39.95 times 24 plus 25. Use your calculator and tell me how much that's going to be. It is $983.80. And I would answer that in terms of money. So that is how much the premium cable is for 2 years. All right. So we are going to wrap up here. We're going to finish our word problems tomorrow. And we are going to review Thursday, test Friday. Okay?